Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining on time. We are going to wait for the next 2 minutes and then we will begin with the session. I request everyone if they can turn on their cameras. Thank you, Shikhar. Thank you, Zeelam. Thank you, Anweshaa. I see beautiful names here. I really want to see your beautiful faces. It would be great if you can turn on your camera if it allows your bandwidth. Thank you, Maninder. Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you, Lata.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Lata. Okay, so the time is 4:02. I think we'll start with the session. Thank you all for joining the session. I am Megha. I am working as the Senior Associate Private Operations in IDM Career, and I'm delighted to moderate today's discussion. It's Beyond the Courtroom, Diverse Pathways and Realities in Law as a Career, where we often picture lawyers in courtrooms, but today's panel discussion explores much more than that. It explores corporate law, social impact, legal tech, and whatnot. And we have two distinguished panelists from different specializations who bring unique journeys and their perspectives. I would like to introduce Anweshaa. Anweshaa, if you can just say hi to
Hi,
everyone.
everyone. Glad to be here today.
Anweshaa. And we also have Shikhar with us. Shikhar, if you can just say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shikhar.
So, Shikhar is currently a Teach for India fellow as well, but he has a really interesting journey. He was an engineer, then he worked in the corporate sector, then he pursued law from the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, and then he transitioned into an educator and now currently working in Teach for India and teaching grade 6 students in a government school. And we also have Anweshaa, who is an alumna of Jindal Glow Law School, and she completed her BA LLB. And right now, she's working as the I'm sorry, she serves as a regional counsel for Entrepreneurs First, a London-based venture capital fund, where she manages their India and Singapore investment portfolios. And she identifies herself as a full-time lawyer and a full-time mom, striving to challenge the notion that women must choose between children and a career. I am not going to give the whole introduction because we have our panelists here. So we can start with Anweshaa. And Anweshaa, can you just tell us about your journey right now? pushed you in school to choose law as a career? And yes, everything and anything about you. Thank you, Anweshaa.
Thank you, Megha. So I think if we start from a school perspective, I knew I was really bad at math. So I thought that most of like engineering and everything is not going to work out for me. But I did always recognize that my strong suit was communication, people interactions, communications, project management. I was pretty good at that even back in school. So around, I think in 11th grade, I decided that I would either be going into law or I would be going into journalism. And I tried for both, and I got into both actually. And then when I got into Jindal, which was the school I wanted to go at for law, that was my top school that I wanted to go for at that point of time. When I got in, I the decision was made for me, so I decided to go for law rather than journalism at that point of time. And obviously, while I was in Jindal, there were lots of subjects, there were lots of interesting um, discussions around what should be the specialization. There were times where I wanted to look at IP. I was looking at criminal law at one point of time, but then I settled with corporate law because that's what I felt sort of came very naturally to me. Right after graduation, I started my career with PwC in the M&A team. And after becoming an associate manager there, I worked for briefly for a very new fund because my boss from PwC had moved and started his own fund, and he took some of us along with him. After which I switched to Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, then Trilegal, and now I'm an in-house counsel at Entrepreneurs First. So yeah.
Thank you, Anweshaa. Shikhar, same goes for you. Like just a brief introduction. How has your journey been? What were your subjects in college? Were they related to law or not? How did you end up getting up here?
Yeah, thanks, Megha. As you said, I started with engineering, which was very standard thing to do at my time. And since I had a science background, so it seemed like an eventuality at that time to go for engineering. I actually had not thought about law at all after my 12th standard. But after doing engineering, rather struggling with engineering, because just like Anweshaa, even I wasn't really good in math and science, but I somehow was like plot through, and then working as a junior engineer also and at other posts as well, I realized that I wanted to do a lot more than just something related to science and tech. So I got a chance to kind of do some legal work for a certain company and do some compliances and other things, and that's started to open some space for me to think. I did not want to follow that path because it was already like there were so many people already in that particular direction. Um, so I decided to give LSAT, which is an entrance exam for getting into law school, certain law schools in India, and I got like a 98 percentile in LSAT. And then I thought if I'm able to kind of do this, then why not give the DU exam as well? And I got through that. And once I got into the course, I realized that this is something I really align with. I really enjoyed actually my journey during the institute and everything. So it turned out well for me that way. And my background of tech was something which gave an angle of both being objective towards things and also being subjective towards things. So combination of both really helped me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving a brief introduction. As you were discussing, when I was in school, I saw law as a very fancy career because I wasn't good at maths. And I had this notion ki if you don't want to take maths, go for law, take humanities, go for law, have law. And I used to see all the lawyers dressed up, and it used to look so fancy for me. But then later on, when I realized and I interacted with my friends, they told me that it is not as fancy as you think. So, can you just tell me what were some of the biggest misconceptions that you had about legal field before you have entered into it?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, I think one of the biggest misconceptions would be don't watch Suits. It's not accurate. Yeah, obviously, like it has a lot of drama and everything attached to it, but there is a lot more grunt work. There's a lot more mental strength. There's a lot more resilience that sort of goes in when you're doing law, just more than the bells and whistles, right? Um, so obviously, one never thinks that, law is an easy course. I mean, that's fairly standard. But the actual amount of work that goes in to building your practice, whether you're in a law firm, whether you're in a in-house, whether you're a litigator, it takes they say that the tip of the iceberg is what you see, like when you see us going to court or when you see us negotiating. But the bottom of the iceberg, which is the larger part, you'll realize that that is the endless nights that we spent either drafting our, briefs, drafting our arguments, drafting our documents, figuring out what the counterparty is going to say. It just takes a lot of effort, and it's not as smooth as they do show in, pop culture. And yeah, I think that was one misconception that once I graduated and started working for different places is when I realized that it's not just the suave, it's more of the hard work that goes into the field.
Yeah,
Shikha,
I think what Anweshaa has put is absolutely correct. Don't fall for suits. Definitely. We hardly wear the suit also, and we are generally sweating in the suit and are not in the air-conditioned offices as they show. In litigation side, I would say again it's very similar. Yes, there is certain glamour, but that's at the top of the pyramid. Where the glamour really is. Most of the money is also being made pretty much at the top and right below it. And when you start with the practice, in fact, as years go by, you realize you know less and less. Instead of feeling like you know more and more, you start realizing that when you do your theory in colleges and then when you enter court, you don't even you're not really prepared for anything. You're not prepared how to in fact they should teach how to regulate your emotions because when you're in front of a judge for the first time, your heart is like in your hand. And no matter how many moot courts a person has done, it is definitely nothing like a moot court. Another misconception, definitely. Like, it's not a moot court at all. When you're in front of a judge, it's very different. In moot courts, you might get a lot of time to argue, maybe even a 2-minute time to argue. But in actual court, you might initially get like 30 seconds. And another thing is initially judges not looking for the art of advocacy in you. They're looking for whether you know the facts well. As a junior lawyer, whether you know the facts well, whether you know your file better or not, whether you know where the annexures are, can you point it out to the court? Like these are the skills that the judges initially, when I say initially, half a decade, you can say, like, at least for 4 or 5 years, forget about real advocacy, the art of it, like of persuasion and those things. First and foremost, one has to learn to kind of enable the judge to go through the files and those things. And plus, you're expected to, yeah, obviously speak fluently and everything, but the misconception that you will be going to court and you'll be like, doing some kind of advocacy over there doesn't really happen. And plus, another thing people are not prepared for is the how cumbersome filings are, in court. It's a lot of heavy work, and there is no clear, there's no clear process or document given to you all the time, which can very clearly and specifically tell you. So in college, people you get used to getting handed out stuff like this is the subject that you have, these are the topics within it, these are the things that you will be learning in this particular semester. Nothing like that is there. So you just have to go, defects will be put on your file, then you have to correct the defect, you have to. So there's a lot of hustle which goes around, which actually takes a lot of your brain power. And you end up sometimes not having enough time and space in your head to really formulate your arguments. And you're constantly running around, as Anweshaa also said. If you are with a senior, which most likely you will be with if you're in litigation, if a senior has 10, 14 matters a day, you'll be just scrambling here and there and getting yelled at by your senior for not getting the senior on time. So there are a lot of these things, how to the court mannerisms, everything you have to learn from scratch. So there's a lot of hustle, a lot of grinding that goes in. And yeah, it's a lot more time consuming than maybe what one sees on television or what one even reads about, even the top lawyers that they read. They have put in the hard work for more than few decades before they are at a level when they can just look at a brief and know what the judge wants and just try to remember the things that exactly the judge wants. And I have seen it happens. Like I will have to read the entire brief, every little aspect, but a top lawyer who has been working for like 20 years, 30 years, he can just ask me five, six questions and he knows that this is what the judge will be looking for. Doesn't even need to, but that comes with practice. It's like any instrument, how you practice, it takes time for you to have that flow. But one will have to give in a lot of hours. As Anweshaa said, that I was also giving in like easily 16, 17 hours, and I'm really pushing myself, and that is after court. So it's a lot of things and a lot of dealing with people, a lot of dealing with other lawyers, a lot of dealing with opposite counsels, a lot of strategizing, a lot of faking things, a lot of pretending to be confident, not knowing things and still showing up. I have received briefs right in the morning when I was working with Delhi government. I would receive briefs at 8 in the morning, and I'm expected to appear before the judge by 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. You know, yeah, and I've done that. So, yeah, it takes a bit of confidence building to, slowly build that confidence to reach that level slowly, slowly. But yeah, like this misconception that just knowledge is enough. No, it's not actually. Knowledge is actually, colleges will give you some basic ideas. Maybe if somebody wants to do masters, that is good enough. But for actual litigation and actual work, you have to start from scratch. So you should be prepared for that. Don't think that you're coming from a certain college or you're coming from certain moot courts or certain amount of marks in your exams that you will have any leverage in court.
Thank you, Shikhar. So while you were discussing about how litigation has worked for you, I also wanted to understand that I know some specializations like there's criminal law, there's corporate law, and there's litigation. What pushed you to opt for litigation and not for other fields? Like, what was your motivation to choose this particular specialization?
So litigation mega is not really a specialization, but basically I went for litigation because I honestly enjoy going to court. I enjoy being in front of a judge. I enjoy getting the opportunity to speak. I enjoy wearing the robe and everything. So, those things definitely played a big part in me choosing litigation. I felt that there was a lot of impactful work that you can do litigation, and I am somebody who's not very structured, honestly. I am not very organized myself, so I prefer having some kind of leeway with your working hours, which turned out to be, but I personally don't prefer a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 kind of a job. I like to have that discretion to myself, and litigation is like having your own business, basically. So you have to decide on how many hours you have to put in, how much work you want to do. So I wanted that freedom, that leeway. If not even in the beginning, maybe after 5 years, 6 years, is just what I wanted, that I have that leeway. And I enjoy having summer vacations as well. So that is something definitely an attraction for me. In litigation, you get summer vacations if you're in, especially if you're in High Court or the Supreme Court. In district courts, you get maybe 10, 12 days, 15 days, but High Court could be a month long, Supreme Court be a month and a half long vacation during summers. So I prefer having that kind of a leeway also. So working 7 days a week, rest of the time, and then having some good time off, a month off to myself is something I I think I resonate better with than maybe having, 9 to 9 or 9 to 6 job and 6 days or 5 days working. So that is why I preferred litigation. Yeah.
Coming back to you, Anweshaa, you are working as a regional counsel and you are handling investment portfolios. I also want to understand like how your role looks like or how your day looks like and what pushed you to opt for this particular role and not for litigation like Shikhar.
To be very honest, I actually did want to get into litigation. I actually wanted to get into criminal litigation back when I was in college. But my parents actually stepped in and they were like, "You're a first generation lawyer. We have no lawyer connects. You're going to go into criminal litigation. It'll be risky for you." That conception that, parents tend to have. So I decided to go for my second option, which was corporate law. The reason why I chose corporate law and have stuck with it for so many years is one thing which I think is common to all lawyers is that you have to like reading. There is no workaround. There is absolutely no workaround. If you don't like reading, law is not the field for you. Because you have to read, you have to understand. Because if you want to argue and not be made a fool of, you have to know what you're arguing about. Right. So, I mean, I think that is something that I would say would be common across litigation, across corporate, across any field of law. So in corporate, especially in the corporate law courses that we had in Jindal, I remember we had to do mock incorporations of companies and all of these other things, which I found quite interesting. And then I also did an advanced commercial drafting course in Jindal in my last year, which again I found very interesting. But as Shikhar said, that it's very, very whatever you study in law school, it just gives you somewhat of a base. I won't even say full base, it gives you somewhat of a base. And then when you go to the real world, you actually realize how things are done. I think one way this your choices get shaped would be definitely through your internships. So internships is like a good scope during the time of your law school where you can actually try to do different internships, do corporate law in different or do law firms in different sort of departments and sort of see what you'll see the other lawyers working. So I won't say judge your work through what you get because as interns you'll get like very basic organization work, nothing too uh, strategically complicated. But I would say at that point of time, it's best to judge what the other lawyers around you are doing, like the ones who are actually working for the company or the law firm that you're interning in. See the kind of work they are doing, try to shadow them as much as possible to get an idea of what is the work that's being done, whether that's interesting to you, whether that's something that you'd like to pursue further, and all of these other things. So I think internship was a great metric for me because when I interned in a lot of good law firms. I did two internships in Jyoti Sagar Associates in Bangalore, which sort of solidified my decision to take up corporate law. And when it comes to my current day to day, is so basically right now I work for, as you said, a London based VC, right? And I handle all their Asia operations. And I also lead their commercial contracts across the fund, whether it's US, UK, everything. So this has given me a really broad range of different kind of contracts in different segments that I negotiate with vendors on. When it comes to transaction documents, basically EF runs cohorts where we set up founders to meet each other and then they co-found, they incorporate their company, and then we invest in them right after they incorporate. So we are basically the first shareholders right after the founders itself, right? So the reason why our company is called Entrepreneurs First is because we invest in the potential of the people. And then when they grow their company, we obviously invest further if we think it's commercially viable and all of these other things. But whenever the company is going through multiple fundraisers, right, whether we're participating or we're not participating, it's my job to make sure that EF's rights in the transaction documents are airtight. right? So even when we have some other counsel, the opposing counsel coming back and being like, hey, they're trying to reduce our rights, or they're trying to, give themselves a little disadvantageous rights when it comes to us. That's when I come into the picture. I renegotiate, I get the document to a situation where it is beneficial for EF as well. So this is what I do across Asia. And now that we have our Indian founders who are now incorporating in the US as well, because our mandate has moved to US first companies. So I am also negotiating documents on behalf of EF at the US level. So that's pretty much what my day looks like. It's either transaction documents, strategic decisions. As an in-house counsel, I think that's one thing that gives you a slight edge over law firm lawyers, because you get to take part in a lot of strategic business decisions in the company that you work for, which is not purely legal. It could just be pure strategy, it could be commercial, it could be anything. But you take a lot of other business related decisions, which is not purely just related to law. So it gives your ambit gets a lot more spread. So you can say my day would look commercial contracts, transaction documents, business decisions. I'm also the head of the POSH committee in EF India. So if any, whenever we have run our cohorts, and our cohorts are run with people who have just graduated college, right? So these are all young people. They take part in our cohort. If there are any unfortunate incidents or anything of that sort, I come in and manage that also. So it's pretty varied. Though I will say the posh thing doesn't happen every day. So the others happen pretty much every day. But yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anweshaa. As I was listening to you guys, I noted one key point that you both mentioned, that how you have to be like a reader if you are entering this field, and you have to read a lot. You have to build that practice that you are reading a lot of things, a lot of documents. But I also want to understand, when you entered into the law field, what were the things that you have to unlearn about the field or about yourself? I do get the point that yes, we have to read, a lot of reading is involved, but was there something that you have to unlearn about yourself or about this field? And wish if you like to answer this question first.
So I think rather than unlearn, I think I'll just build on a point that Shikhar mentioned, which is your emotional regulation. I think that is something, it's a practice that you need to learn over and above, right? You feel like if you feel you're emotionally regulated at 23, that's great. Most people are not. But I think once you enter the legal field, especially if you're working in lit, law firm, etc., the beginning years are the main grunt work years, right? So you've got seniors like yelling at you for like grammar mistakes or something really small that you would be like, it's not a big deal. But at the end of the day, it is a big deal, because these are mistakes. If they go to the client, it looks really bad on the firm that you're representing. So in the beginning, you don't realize that you just think it's a small thing, someone is overreacting, all of that. And you try to sort of, I would say, nurture or protect your ego. But I can promise you the system will break that ego down. Because as you go up the ladder, and I'm talking from like a purely corporate law perspective, right? So if whether you're in a law firm, when you start off as an associate, you go on to senior associate, etc. As and when your accountability increases, you start realizing how important these small things are. And you start to eventually, like, put your ego aside, right? And once you start owning those mistakes, or you start owning and you start sort of drown out all the noise, like typically what happens in a corporate sector is politics, this, that, etc. Drown out all the external noise as much as possible. Try, your ego will get hurt multiple times for sure. But if you just push through it and just focus on your practice, focus on your learning, focus on your skills, communication, negotiation, drafting, all of these other things, just focus on all of this. Your work will eventually speak for you. And you will realize that all the times that you got yelled at when you were younger actually made you a better lawyer. So I think that is something that I dealt with personally.
We also have some questions coming up in the chat box. I want to ask you that, how does the practice as an advocate in initial years look like, both emotionally and financially? Like, is it very, if you went, for example, I used to think that if I complete my law degree, I enter into the law field, I will be earning in lakhs, which is not true, which I got to know very late in my life. But how are you going to explain, like initially when you entered, how was your journey looking like emotionally and financially? Shikhar, if you would like to answer this question.
Yeah, I would say that in litigation, at least, you're either underpaid or you're overpaid. So most of your career you'll be underpaid, and then suddenly after a certain point, you will start to be getting overpaid for everything. So you have to kind of be very patient, initially. One thing, Megha, I'll just the unlearning part because that really stuck with me. There was a lot of unlearning, I think, in litigation. I'll just come to that and then I'll answer the questions that I'm seeing here. So, unlearning in litigation, there's a lot of unlearning in litigation, actually. First and foremost, that there's unfairness everywhere. You have to unlearn that idea that there is going to be fairness. You're going to court. You'll be dealt fairly with things. Procedures would be fair. There is a lot of unfairness that you have to deal with in litigation. Sometimes your matter will not be heard for months and months, despite maybe like I had a matter where a litigant was around 99 years old, and I'm telling the court that, we cannot keep, delaying the matter because he will actually pass away, which he did finally. But the court is not inclined. They're like, we will take it in the next day. So it feels very unfair when something like this happens. Procedures are also unfair. Another thing is unfair that junior lawyers will not have the same weight that a senior lawyer would have. So even if you have a good case on merit, the facts are on your side, everything. But sometimes, despite all that, the matters might go in favor of the senior counsel. Because sometimes, because it's natural tendency of judges to be sometimes inclined to listen to someone who they have seen for the past 15, 20 years. So it sometimes happens. So there's a lot of unlearning there. Like I think all lawyers really suffer with this because this is the most irritating part that you go to a court for justice to be just, and by the end of it you realize there's nothing just really happening. And that's not because people want to be unfair. It is just how the system is. It's very chaotic. There are too many matters. Like, a judge is supposed to listen to 200, 300 matters a day. Obviously, he can't be prepared for it. So it's a hard thing to learn that that it will not be fair, neither on the client nor on you as a lawyer. Also, you will be sometimes superbly well prepared, and they will not listen to the matter. And someday you'll be like, today the matter is not going to come. It is very low in the cause list. And suddenly he'll be like, yeah, yeah, tell me more about this matter. So a lot of unlearning is there that you have to be consistent, patient, and very forgiving to the court and to yourself and to your client. Another unlearning is that you have to learn to lose as well in litigation, because again, as I said, that it's not very fair. So sometimes you will lose despite having a good case, despite doing everything you could have done to maybe raise one good point you had in a case. But you have to unlearn that you'll have to learn to unlose. Sorry, you'll have to learn to lose. A lot of times. Another very big unlearning is that when we come from college, we believe, since we are in a merit system in college, that everything is merit related. In litigation, especially, merit is required, but that is just the base. You need to have a good network also over time, as Anweshaa was saying that her parents were worried about that thing. So merit is good. If you are good at reading, you have great grasping power, you're very hardworking, you're high rigor. But with that, in litigation, you definitely need to build on your network as well. So if somebody who is not, willing to kind of get out of their comfort zone and talk to people and try to get work, if you don't do that, then overall litigation practice बनना मुश्किल हो जाता है उस केस में. So you need to kind of be okay with networking with people, sitting in their offices, having small talks, and whatever is required. It could be government officials also if you want to get into a panel, and it could be private people also. It could be other lawyers as well who are getting a lot of matters. So when they are overwhelmed with matters, they prefer to give it to somebody. So you gotta be that person. So merit is required. There's no doubt about it. But that's just the base. You need to have a decent network as well. Mm, Also, a lot of us are not used to getting yelled at. So that is another thing one has to get used to it because it's this high pressure job. Sometimes you're doing criminal matters, somebody's freedom is at stake because they are in jail, for so many years or months. Sometimes crores of rupees are at stake, and it's a very high pressure job. So any day could be a bad day, and judge if the judge decides to pass an order against you, then it can have such great impact on that person. So it's a very high pressure job. So obviously your seniors will be a bit irritated with things if they are not how they want it. So get used to it. It's not it's not that bad. Honestly, once if you get used to it, it's okay. You can move on to actual things. Also get used to the chaos. As I said, कि litigation, it's all chaotic. Which matter कब सुना जाएगा, कहाँ सुना जाएगा, which judge. हो सकता है you have a matter, item number two only, and item number one, the court decides to listen for 3 hours, 4 hours. You are sitting there for 3 hours, 4 hours, waiting that your item, you can't even go to another court because your item is next. But your senior is saying, oh, there's another court to go to. So there's a lot of chaotic movement which is happening. So sometimes when we come out of college and schools, we have so much logic and so much, processes clearly made and cut out. So you have to get used to the fact that this is going to be very chaotic, and don't try to control it. It is going to be chaotic. Um, Learning to think while you are on your feet is a magical thing to do, which any advocate will have to slowly get good at. Because no matter how well you are prepared, judge will always throw you a question for which you'll be like, oh, damn, I didn't think about that. Especially in your first 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years of your practice, that will happen very frequently, despite your best, because you try to perceive what the judge is going to ask, and it is based on whatever small experience of litigation you have at that time, and your common sense. So that helps you to answer a few questions that a judge would ask. Maybe they will ask about jurisdiction. Maybe they will ask about whether you're which side you are on. Whether other kinds of basic stuffs which are there, which they will ask. But there will always be this curveball, question they will ask which you have not really well prepared for. So how to start thinking on the spot, how to come up with an answer on the spot, and sometimes also take time, from for answering that question. So those tactics one will have to do. So I think these are things I wanted to say about the unlearning aspect. A lot of people have. Now, should I go to that? There are some questions I can see. You asked me about financial and emotional. It's very tough. It's very tough. First 3, 4 years is immensely tough because it is not an organized sector like maybe being in a law firm or being in a corporate system. It's a very old tradition. So lawyers generally came from anyway from generally affluent families, people who didn't have to pay rent on a monthly basis. Their kids would generally get into such professions. So the seniors would also give just enough money for you to kind of, for your expenses. That's about it. And that will also depend. So this kind of a tradition is there in litigation. That there's not an employer-employee relationship. It is more of a senior-junior relationship. And in that case, what happens that you are expected to kind of be an apprentice, a shadow of the senior, but you are at the same time made to work like an employee as well because there are deliverables, there are timelines, there are deadlines, and all those things where trappings of an employment are there. But right now, I think it is improving. From time to time, I've seen certain lawyers talk about it that we should increase the stipend that we give to the fresh lawyers and everything, considering inflation and the fact they are actually being treated as employees as well. So yeah, that is financially it is very difficult that way. As Anweshaa said, that if you don't have a backup, if you have to pay rent, it becomes difficult. But generally the lawyers who are making it doing good are coming from families which had legal background, or at least financially were relatively stable people. But ऐसा नहीं है. There are a lot of lawyers who hustle and really reach the top despite all the odds. And emotionally also it is exhausting. Every day is exhausting. You feel angry, you feel sad, you feel unhappy, you feel frustrated. I know certain lawyers whose parents are not from the profession, so they used to think that why are you working so much for so less money? Like, why are you doing this? There's no point of this. You should get a job. But sometimes you're just inclined, you just enjoy the work so much, also at the same time. So it's a roller coaster ride of emotion, I would say, at least for the first decade of your. And there will be so many instances that you'll be thinking of quitting law. You'll be thinking of getting into maybe doing something else, or getting into a law firm or a corporate. That happens to most lawyers. They end up kind of always every once in a while, every once in a few years, they'll be thinking like, this is enough. I can't do this anymore. But something just keeps bringing them back.
Thank you, Shikhar. Anvesha, would you like to elaborate, like, how was your financial journey when you started in the law field?
So I think emotionally, I've already spoken about it. But yeah, from a financial perspective, I think corporate lawyers do have it slightly easier than lit lawyers. Because again, it depends on which, say, if I look at a law firm, right? Law firms are structured tier wise. So you've got the tier ones like CAM, Trilegal, SAM, um, and all the Khaitan, AZB. They are the creme of creme in corporate, I mean, law firm rankings. So if you start your career with one of these, right, they will obviously, like, the work is incredibly hard. It's incredibly time consuming, but you'll get to learn a lot. Like in your first 3, 4 years, the way they make you hustle, it sets you up for the long term of being in a law firm. But getting through those first 3, 4 years is very, very difficult because you might be getting the money in, like, say, a tier one. You will be getting good money as a fresher, but you won't have the time to spend it anywhere, to be very honest, because you genuinely don't, because you're constantly working. There's no concept of weekends. You can be called in at any point of time for some sort of work. There could be a client deliverable that you need that you'll get to know on a Friday night, which is due on a Monday morning. Effectively, your weekend is short, right? So there are lots of so from a financial perspective, it all depends on which type of a law firm or which type of company you join. um, but again, as I said, because the work is so much, it's very difficult to sort of appreciate the money that even comes in, because yeah, you pay your rents and everything, but you don't really get too much time for yourself in the first few years. So it's very, as I said, so bringing this back to like an emotional regulation perspective, right? So you have to be quite stoic, quite strong through that part, because if you get through that, it's really worth it. It's really worth it. Because whether, I mean, whichever field you're talking about, right? And this is true for any sector that you might be in, right? If you're planning to go for a boutique IP firm or a taxation practice or something like that, right? Every single department in law, the first few years, or I would say the first 5 years, are your most difficult ones, because that is what makes or breaks you. As Shikhar said, that, a lot of people think that, okay, chalo, today, I don't want to do litigation anymore. I'll go to a corporate, or I'll go to somewhere else. You've got a corporate lawyer pretty much every week being like, ye mere se nahi hoga. Like, I'm done. I'm so done. But you come back to it because there is an underlying excitement that comes with the profession, which I don't think a lot of professions give, right? For example, when I'm walking, suppose I know I have a negotiation tomorrow with the opposing counsel. I'm say the investor counsel, the founder counsels are coming in. We have to negotiate the entire document. If I'm well prepared, I can't sleep that night, because I feel it's not like I'm nervous. It's not that I am, like, a little worried about that. Is there that the imposter syndrome is always playing in the background? But it's more about the excitement and that little bit of adrenaline that you get when you are actually, whether you're arguing in a courtroom, whether you're arguing in a boardroom, right? That little bit of adrenaline is what I think gets lawyers back into the game every time they want to quit.
Thank you, Anvesha. In the chat box, I think we also have a student who wants to know, like, she wants to serve the society and she wants to understand, like, from which grade she should start studying law and when to enter this field. I feel Shikhar and you have a varied journey. Like you started after your 12th, and then Shikhar did his B.Tech, and then he decided after working that he wants to pursue law. So, what are going to be your thoughts on this? Like, what is the right time to start law? Like, should I prepare it from the 11th grade? Ki, okay, I'll take up the perfect subject choices here and then I'll pursue law. Or can I like make up my mind a little later after pursuing a different degree? So, what are your thoughts about this? Shikhar, if you want to answer this question first.
I think the preparation for law doesn't require way too much of, like, I'm coming from an engineering point of view, that the kind of preparation that maybe getting into IITs and all that require, that level of preparation is not required in law. But generally, most of the students who start preparing in 11th standard and 12th standard, and that is sufficient enough if you are somebody who's consistent to get into the national law colleges, and then honestly, just like any other entrance, it depends, on your luck also, that how well prepared you were and how the paper came and everything. So based on that, for me, I actually did it while I was working, my preparation for the Delhi University Law. So Delhi University Law, if the students don't know, basically is a 3-year course. So that happens once you have a graduation degree. Only then you can do it. So unlike Anweshaa has done from Jindal, so that is a 5-year course. So you get two degrees in that. One is your graduation degree and a law degree. So it would be like a BA LLB or a BSc LLB, or what else is there? The BLS LLB. There are different kinds. So BCom LLB also is there. BBA LLB is there.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are like 5, 6 different graduation plus. So it's an integrated course for 5 years. What I have done is, like, I have a BTech. So my degree is BTech LLB, which you obviously can't do together. But preferably, obviously, go for a 5-year course if you're very clear that you want to start with law, because you will save a year. I did 4 years of engineering and 3 years of law, versus that is 7 years of education around it. And meanwhile, if I would have done after 12th, so it would have been 5 years of education, and I would have had maybe a BSc LLB in that case. So I think it will be best to start in your 11th or 12th. It's never too late to start, like how it is for me. But better to start your 11th, 12th. And if you're going to start after graduation, then max to max, I would say a year is enough. But there are very few colleges who have a 3-year course now. Government Law College, Bombay used to have it. I don't know if they have it now. They also have a 5-year course and a 3-year course. I don't think they continue with the 3-year, but Delhi University still continues with their 3-year course. So over here, if you want to study in Delhi, especially do law from Delhi and not from the national law universities, if you're not NLU Delhi, and if you're not part of that right after school, then your only option in Delhi is to go for DU, Delhi University Law Faculty. And for that, you have to give an entrance exam and get through. And it's you have manuals, universal, I think, universal publication and publicators manuals to kind of prepare for the exam. And if you do it well, if you have a good general knowledge, and you follow the manuals well, you practice. It wasn't that difficult, for like, from my background, it wasn't that difficult to do.
Thank you, Shikhar. We also have a student asking, like, what are some subjects that a person should focus for the law entrance exam? So I was preparing for CLAT once when I was in 12th standard, and only prepared for CLAT. And the most basic 5, 6 subjects that you need to be prepped are current affairs and general knowledge. Like this is required for any exams that you are preparing. Then English language, logical reasoning, quantitative techniques, and legal reasoning when you're particularly preparing for examinations like CLAT. I hope that answers your query. And moving on to that, I have another question. Anwesha, how do the top NLUs differ in terms of campus culture, placement, and faculty? And which one is best according to you?
I didn't go to any of the NLUs.
Okay, so you were, yeah, yeah. So
So
like,
I was in Jindal, but I'll give you, so a lot of my friends did study in NLUs. As far as I know, I think Hyderabad has the best campus. Again, like caveat, I'm not sure. You have to do your own research for this. But as far as I know, I think Hyderabad has the newest campus. NLS, Hyderabad and Bangalore keep shifting between rank one and two through the years. I think NUJS in West Bengal, Calcutta is solid on the third ranked or fourth ranked usually. And I think after that, it's NLU Delhi and NLU Jodhpur, if I'm not wrong. I've not been following the rankings recently. But as far as I know, the NLUs do rank like this. I mean, if that's helpful. Please do your own research. Do not listen to me. Just read up on it. You'll see the pictures of the campus online. You'll see their courses. Better to visit. Like I remember my parents actually went and visited Jindal before I went in, because at that time Jindal was a very, very new college. There wasn't a single graduating batch at that point. So my parents actually did travel to Sonipat. They saw the campus. They met with Raj. They met with the admin members, and then they took a decision.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that. Um, I would also request all the participants to like just turn on their cameras and come off mute and they can ask. Like I see a lot of questions being posted in the chat box, but I would really appreciate if you can just ask your questions with the speakers because it's a panel discussion and we really want you to ask the questions. If Arohi, if you can just turn off your camera and come off mute and ask what is your question? We have posted in the chat box as well. Pooja, Arohi, Suman, Shri, Lata, anyone, if they want to, yeah.
Meanwhile, I think one question I was like, Mr. Prashun was asking about very specific input on what job profiles and what exactly we can do after graduating. So that if I can answer, it's basically
Shikhar, you are on mute. Mute. Yeah.
sorry. Basically, you complete your law. During your law, do as Anweshaa said, as many internships as possible. Get as varied experience as possible. Don't keep yourself key. You don't get to decide what your life will be like, and you don't even know what you are going to like by the end of it. Right now, it's all in your imagination. That oh, maybe you saw suits, so you like corporate structure. Maybe you saw this, or maybe you saw a very fancy lawyer in a fancy car, so you thought maybe this is what I want to do and this is what I want to become. Maybe you saw someone wearing the entire robe and everything, and you thought, oh, I want to be like this. I want to go to high courts and Supreme Court. So it sounds so, high. So, so you don't really know. So I would suggest that, try to do as many internships as possible in different fields. Try to do it some litigations, some your corporate as well, if possible. That should be something you should be focusing on. Focus on moot courts as well. It will improve your public communication and speaking skills to a certain extent. Will also teach you how to structure your arguments. Will actually start teaching you just the spark, the seed. It never really ends, but the seed will be there that oh, this is how structures are made in arguments. So that kind of a practice, like how you practice anything. Like if you want to learn cycling, you need to practice it on a regular basis. So do that during your law. Read as much. Start reading cases. If you like, Delhi University had a case material system, which is copied from the Harvard law, how they do it. Where we are taught cases only. We are not really taught too much theory. We are just taught everything through different cases in India and abroad. So start reading, judgments. That will also give you some idea about the kind of language that is used. If you really want to be, focus on law that way. Once you have done with your law, right before that, I would say in your final semesters, decide one area that you want to pick and do your final internship in that area, so that you might have a chance of joining that person or that particular law firm or that in-house. So you won't start. You can't generally start in-house. So law firm and litigation, two places you can start with. So in law litigation, wherever you finally end up feeling, oh, I want to do criminal, I want to do civil, I want to do in this particular court. So try to do your last few internships at least in that, so that you can create, as I said, networking is required. So that will be your first step towards networking, and that might assure you a job with them. You'll start getting into it. It could be civil, it could be criminal, it could be arbitrations. Lot of things are there, a mixture of all of it together. Tribunals, there are a lot of places that a lawyer works at the same time in litigation. So I would again say, last few internships, focus on where you finally want to try and be at. Litigation will be low paying, but sky is the limit if you think about the long term. There you can charge anything if you really become successful. There is no limit to it. In fact, lawyers like Mukul Rohtgi and all companies pay them just to keep them on retainer so that they don't appear against them. So that is the level you can reach, in litigation. So that is one litigation aspect. Now comes the law firm aspect. If you want to get into a law firm, then it's a decent pay, long hours, decent pay, and you are more restricted to. So law firms also have a litigation department. They also have a contract related department and other departments. So if you are somebody who likes to be in litigation but not hardcore into litigation, then within a law firm also you can be in litigation where you might not be appearing in court, but you might be a middle person between the law firm and the actual advocates who are appearing in court. So you can be there in a law firm. So within law firm also there are litigation aspects. Apart from that, obviously there are contractual, and Anweshaa has done so many different aspects, in the law firm. And now we come to in-house counsel. So in-house counsel is basically being a lawyer between the company and the actual lawyer advocate who is appearing in court. So you are the middleman because the company is very big. So instead of director directly dealing with the advocate, or they have their set of lawyers who do all the compliances, because company is very big. There's so many compliances, so many documents. So they have these in-house counsels who deal with things between, say, the court. Again, in-house also can be litigation based and can be non-litigation based as well. So if you're on the litigation based side, I'm telling you that you will be somebody who will have to provide, say, police will come that there's an FIR filed under maybe an IT Act or something, and then you have to provide the documents. So you will be that person. Instead of going to the director of that corporate, they will come to you and you will have to deal with. But that generally happens after a lot of, like, at least few years of experience in litigation or a law, generally a law firm. If you have experience like 3, 4 years in a law firm, then you can move towards an in-house counsel. And that also generally happens easy when you're working with a law firm, which is catering to that particular in a corporate, sector. So if there's, for example, Whirlpool. So if Whirlpool has a law firm which they engage and you're working in that particular law firm, then you'll have connections with Whirlpool slowly, and then you can move towards client side. So this is called moving towards client side from an agency side. So that is the in-house. So we have litigation in which you have civil, criminal, arbitration, everything, but low paying. You have for in the beginning few years. Law firms. If you have rents to pay, definitely go for a law firm, because you will be able to pay. You will be having a decent lifestyle as well from the beginning itself. So it's good that way. It's fun actually. It's good. And in-house is something you'll do later. The work is very different. It's very office based. You're pretty much in the office all the time. And then there is judiciary also, but now the court have all decided that you need certain experience before applying for judiciary. So become a law clerk is one of the things you can do during after your law. And also preparing for judiciary is a different ballgame altogether. And that requires a lot of years of preparation. Not all states conduct their judiciary exams every year. Some states conduct, like Delhi, I think, conducts on a regular basis. There are very few seats, and Haryana doesn't, I think, conduct on a regular basis. So there are different frequency of how the exams are conducted. Plus, you are supposed to know a local language as well for these exams. If you're in a Hindi-speaking state, then Hindi, and if you're in non-Hindi speaking state, then the non-Hindi that you have to. If you're in Maharashtra, applying in Maharashtra, then there will be a paper on Marathi as well. because district courts primarily work on the local language. They do not work on English like high courts and especially Supreme Court. So I think I have answered something Prashun was looking for. Anything else? Anyone want to ask
So
anything? Yeah,
someone, Akshay has
Akshay,
Good
raised her
evening.
hand for a very long. Akshay, you want
Anweshaa
to
wants to say
ask
something.
some question? You can come off mute and ask. Okay, Jasleen, you want to go first? You can go first and ask your question.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I just
Okay, so being an Indian citizen, I really aspire to change some laws and culture or the society, also to serve the society at the
उसके
same
अंदर
time.
घुस के चाय बनानी है
So, so does the law really helps in this aspect, or I should go better in judiciary and civil services, also seeing the chances of success as well?
I
If
think
I,
Shikhar would be the best person to answer this.
yeah, I mean, see, Jasleen, there are different kinds of impact you can make in different professions. If you are as a civil servant, you can make different kinds of impact in executive orders you can pass, and there are things you can do which a lawyer cannot do. And if you are a lawyer, then there are things you can do which sometimes the executive are afraid to do, in fact, because they feel that their political bosses will not be happy. So they try to go towards the legal side and get orders from a court. So, say for example, I was working in a case for which was a pro bono that we were doing for blind graduates. So once the after the demonetization, the new notes that came were not very conducive for not very helpful for people who had issues with vision. So those notes did not have enough tactile. They were the size of the notes were not so different that they could just touch and tell that there is a difference. So these are the things that something of an executive level you will not be able to create any impact because demonetization is at a national level. Changing the currency is something that no civil servant can actually do, and that is where we helped. We filed a case on behalf of an organization which is called Blind Graduates, and RBI was a party to it because they were the ones who issued the notes. And finally, they have, made after a lot of hearings, they have made a panel of IITians who are going to now work on it and ensure that the new notes that are now going to come in the current in the market, they have these certain guidelines which are being followed so as to ensure that people with disabilities are not being affected very badly. So this is something, for example, a lawyer can do and a judge can do, which an executive could not have done. And something what executive can do is like, say, for example, another thing a lawyer can do, which we used to do a lot, is encroachments. So if somebody has encroached somebody's land and they have been living there for very long, they're sometimes very poor people who have been misled into buying properties which are encroached, and then and then executive orders are passed to remove the encroachment. And in such cases, no compensation is given, nothing is given because they were encroachers from the day one. So, in these cases, also lawyers can really help in getting stay orders from demolitions, and destroying people's houses. That is something I have also done in a lot of cases. So, again, something a lawyer can do, executive will not be inclined to do. Executive can do a lot of other stuff. They can ensure that the policies that the government has are being properly implemented. He can actually make a lot of difference at individual level for people as well. There actually there are so many policies, so much financial control executives have, which can be properly distributed and done if somebody takes the charge. So I won't say, Jasleen, that it's um, like I don't think it's like this versus that kind of a situation. We are there. We are in different fields, and as a lawyer, you can do different kind of help to the society, and as an executive you can help in very different ways. So whatever you get into, I would say start there. Don't try to think what I want to kind of which area I want to help from. I would say apply for your executive civil services also, and do your law as well, and see wherever you get. If you get into civil services, it's great. You can help a lot of people being a civil servant. And if you don't get by chance, then law is a great option that you can have a lot. There are a lot of organizations which file cases for free. There is a Delhi Legal Service Authority also, which files cases for free for underprivileged people. So there's a lot of work happening, in both areas, but very different kind of work. You have more personal control in executive work as a civil servant, and you are more dependent upon the judge to pass orders, but you do your bit, you know. So you persuade the judge and everything. So um, help is happening from me. In fact, now I'm working in NGO, as Megha pointed out, Teach for India. I'm now working at a ground level, and I'm helping in a way that a lawyer or even a civil servant couldn't have helped. You know, now I'm actually helping kids. Today only I'm teaching kids in eighth grade who do not know how to count. Now that is something. Mission Bunyad is something started by the Delhi government, which is to improve the foundational thing. So that is a policy level decision. Maybe the executive took it. Maybe it was directions of the court. It could be anything. But finally, who's doing it? You know, at the ground level, when people like me are going and trying to help kids, that's a different kind of help altogether, which neither of them have time for. As a lawyer, also, you can't go on the ground level and do these things. And as a civil servant, also, you have way too many responsibilities to go and teach in a class or do those things. So that's a different kind of impact. So there is a lot of impact in the NGO sector also that you can make. Very, I know that there was certain NGO who would make 1,000 sandwiches for the community. Just like that, it'll gather people and make 1,000 sandwiches and provide thousand. This government has midday meals. Government has so many policies for free food, and but see, even NGO is making some impact over there. So you can be anywhere and make an impact. Honestly, it's up to you how you want to do it. You will have to take accountability of it. You cannot expect the office or the chair to give you that kind of a power first. Despite having that power, there'll be a lot of limitations. Civil servants have their political bosses. That is a limitation. Lawyers have to finally do what the judges are saying. That is a limitation. Me working at the ground level, principal is also sometimes a limitation. So at different places you'll have limitations also, and different places you'll have opportunities also. So whatever you get into, if you really want to make an impact, that is something very different from actually just choosing a profession. Whatever profession you get into, you can create an impact, either of them.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Would you guys suggest studying abroad, like in Harvard University or Stanford University for the law, or like in India, like NLUs?
So typically I mean, it's a very subjective choice to make, to be honest. If you're looking at practicing abroad, you should definitely go for abroad universities. But what a lot of people tend to do is do their, BA LLB in India, and then you can do your master's abroad and then go there, if that is another option that you'd like to this thing. But if you are very clear that you want to practice abroad, you want to clear the bar abroad, etc., you can do that also. Now, alternatively, I can give you another option, which is available to a lot of law students now, and I'm personally pursuing it, is that there is an option of being qualified in the UK also by being in India. So if you are a lawyer with around 2 years of work experience and you've cleared the bar exam and you have your bar certificate and you've got 2 years of experience post that, you can actually give the solicitor's qualifying exam, which is the bar exam of UK, and prepare for it and give it. And if you clear it, then you'll be a dual qualified lawyer in the UK as well as India. So you've got a lot of options whether to stay in India, go abroad, stay in India, do the UK bar exam. It all depends on what you want to do and where you want to be after, where you want to work.
Akshay, I can see your
Hello?
raised
Yeah.
hand.
Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah. You're audible.
Thank you very much for the very informative session. My question is about two questions I have. One is about cyber law. Like, is it possible that one can do practice cyber law without a formal degree and just having computer science background and some other diplomas? And second thing is, how does the student decide his specialization in law? Like, what specialization he should take it up? Is it at the LLB level or is it at the master's level? And is master's really necessary? Thank you.
Um, well, cyber law, your first question was related to whether do you need a law degree for working in cyber law sector? If you don't have a law degree, certain IP laws you can do, but you will be more of a paralegal. Then you
Yeah.
will not be working as a lawyer. It will be more of a paralegal work, and paralegal is not very organized work here. But there are enough jobs like IP. In IP also there are jobs which are for engineers. Because a lot of technological knowledge is required in filing patents and all. So there are like options. I know people that have just done their BTech, and they are working with the police also in cyber because of their knowledge about how the radar systems work, how the telecom works. All that knowledge helps in solving cyber crimes. So 100% there is opportunity if you find yourself at the right place for that. But it's very niche. If you want to not even do law and be in cyber crime related stuff, that you need to have that kind of exposure somewhere, especially with the police, I would say. And I had a friend who was working at the NIA, and he was not a lawyer, and he was working with the cybercrime branch only. So they need 100%. All these departments are looking for people with great technological background and some basic idea about the law. That would work very well, actually. There is a lot of opportunity there if you can really find something. You can also become a nodal officer over time between the corporate company and the police when it comes to cyber crime related stuff. So that is one thing. Specialization. Specialization generally doesn't happen at the graduation level, LLB level. Specialization will happen at a master's level generally. Specialization is something that law is generally trending towards now, slowly. Litigation is one way of saying that you're multi-specialist, because you're supposed to know very well different aspects of law. So if you want to be in litigation, then we call it that it is general, but you end up becoming specialized in multiple areas. Apart from that, if you want to take a degree and do some specialization, that is also helpful with law firms and all. And I think Anweshaa will tell you better about it, how law firms will find it useful doing. Masters also, I would say, is of no use if you want to really get into litigation. Nobody really cares about your masters anymore in litigation.
Even
Uh,
in law firms, I think I agree with that sentiment. No one really cares about your masters.
Yeah, it is only good that it gives you a great exposure. Say if you're in Harvard or in Oxford, of course you will meet people who are very influential people or will become very influential people. So it's superbly good for your networking and your exposure overall. But if you think that you'll get a better job merely because you have a master's, that I don't think is going to happen.
Or I
Okay,
think
so
if you want to get
experience is
into
more important, right?
academia
So,
or teaching, if you want to get into academia or teaching, in that case, I think LLM might be somewhat helpful. But yeah, agree with Shikhar otherwise. I mean, it's
For teaching, yes, you have to have a master's.
yeah.
Before you get into the teaching line, you will need at least a master's before you can start applying for maybe JRF, I think, junior research fellowships and other stuff. If you want to become a PhD, also, obviously, you will have to have a master's degree. So if you want to get into the teaching line, become a professor, assistant professors, then of course the master's will be help because it's again very academic. Everything is academic in the teaching line. But if you think that your master's like an MBA helps in a job, it like really helps. If you're an MBA from BTech to MBA, there's a lot of difference in how much you can make if you have an MBA. But in law, there is no such thing. You will not really get anything. It's just nice to have. And yeah, it's good exposure. You will have a global exposure then, maybe you'll get to know more things. Maybe it will help you. It can help you in international arbitration. It's something where it can be of some help. If you want to move outside India and do arbitration, the masters can be of some use over there. But in India, working litigation or as Anweshaa says, even in law firms, nobody really cares.
okay, okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Shikhar.
Thank you. Thank
Like
you.
you have raised your hand. You can unmute yourself.
I think one more thing I will just say. Somebody was asking about placements in the chats. I would say that if you are going to be very placement focused, which is great, DU is not a good place for that. The law faculty's placement, they have a placement cell, but generally, DU's or Delhi University's curriculum is more geared towards litigation. It is not geared towards law firms. So you will see that most judges in Delhi High Court are from Delhi University only. Very few are from any national law university, but obviously they'll start coming up now. But the national law universities really focus on placement. So if you are going to be somebody who relies on placement, then placement cells, in that case, it will be better to go for national law universities than Delhi University.
Ela, you want to ask something? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hello, everybody, and thanks for such an insightful session today. My question is regarding, emotional regulation, which both of you spoke about. So normally, we are speaking to 11th graders, 12th graders, and who are looking for a career in law. So coming from you, like what I need inputs from you, like what we should be telling them so that they can, be emotionally more strong and regulated. What advice we should give them? How should we guide them so that, they are able to, you know, grow in this field?
So I think one of the things that I felt would have been helpful if someone had told me when I was a student would be, say, sessions like this, where somebody is sort of telling you that this is what you will expect, this is the kind of pressure that you will expect, this is the kind of, this is how your seniors may react to you, and to not take it to heart and things like that. It's just a part of the learning curve and all of these other things. I think that mental preparedness is sort of helpful. So for me, it was a bit of a shock when this started happening, because no one really told me that this. I don't come from a legal background. I don't have lawyers in my family. So nobody really told me that this is what is considered as like normal behavior. And it sometimes, when you're not aware that this is how it's going to be, it starts impacting your confidence, it starts impacting, fueling your imposter syndrome a little bit more than it's required. But if someone prepares you beforehand, saying, hey, this is like everyone gets yelled at, everyone has to take the pressure, it just comes with the job. So I think that level of knowing what to expect really helps students in terms of emotional regulation. So emotional regulation as a concept cannot be taught until they actually come into the situation that they are in. But just to get them a little mentally prepared for these situations or these high pressures, etc., that helps a lot. With at least they won't have a issue with their confidence, or issue with, maybe feeling like, oh, they are the only ones doing something wrong, or they are the only ones getting yelled at, or they're the only ones feeling the stress or the pressure. That's not the case. It's there across the board. So I think that would be a helpful factor for guiding students.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
Anweshaa on everything. I'll just add the fact as she said, like knowing is not enough. If even if we tell this is how the situations would be, you will have to face it and slowly, become more callous about it. Strengthen your resolve around it. There is no pill for it. Like, you have to kind of go through those days, when you will be feeling depressed, you will be feeling anxious, and only just don't give up on it is something I'll say. That don't give in that that it is not supposed to be like that. It is exactly supposed to be like this. That is something you can tell your students, that if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling that things are not in your control, if you're feeling as an imposter, as Anweshaa said, or feeling that this is not what you signed up for. So all these feelings are very natural for any lawyer to feel, or if you go in any job, in fact, not only law, but any job you go. So don't isolate yourself in that case. Don't think that this is only happening to you. This is happening to all of them. On the face of it, it might not look like that. What is happening on the inside sometimes, most of the times people do not express it. They are not able to show it. They have a very poker face maybe. And you think, oh, he's not feeling or she's not feeling like that. I'm the one who's like, feeling so disturbed and anxious. Everyone is feeling it. They're just able to kind of keep it inside, suck it up, and just show up. So keep showing up. Let the feelings flow, and this is how it's supposed. This is how a journey into the world happens. When you're born, also the first thing you do is crying only. No matter how much you tell the baby that there's no need to cry, you have to cry. You have to cry on certain days, and that is a journey that all of us have to go through.
Thank you.
Sandhya, you want to ask something? Yeah.
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks a lot for a very informative session. Uh, After listening to your, you can say your experiences and other things, I just feel I can get it that it is a very, you can say it can be a very flourishing experience for students who are extroverts, but students who are introverts. If any of my student who is interested into law and want to pursue the what advice should I give her, and what stream should you suggest her to take?
So I would basically say that if someone is an introvert, that doesn't mean that law is not for them, or that does not mean that they can't communicate. Being an introvert and not being able to communicate are two different skills. Communication is a soft skill which I believe is required across the board, especially in the new age careers that are coming up today. Communication is absolutely required. But what I would suggest, if it's someone who is very introverted, like thinks twice before talking and all of these other things, a practice that had helped one of my friends, I remember when she told me in law school, was that if she has a mirror in front, like think about something that you want to talk about. Anything, could be a technical topic, could be something. But try like practicing this in front of the mirror, right? Start practicing this in front of the mirror. Then, as and when they actually join a law firm or any litigation, etc. But I'll talk from a law firm perspective because litigation I don't have too much idea. But at least in a law firm, or even if you join a consultancy like how I did in PwC, there will come a time where you will have to do presentations. You will have to not present to like a large group of people, but maybe two, three people in your team, or maybe your client, or something like that. So starting by, preparing yourself or talking in front of the mirror, or another thing is if this person is very introverted, one way that they can gain confidence is by knowing their subject. So if they are very clear about what they're reading, what they're going to speak, if they're very clear about their thought process, right? It's just the practice of, articulating it, right? You can go for a lot of these. I can't think of a name. This is one organization. It's not TED Talk. It's this one organization that organizes, small people coming and talking in small topics. If you can give your contact to Megha, I will find out that name and I will send it to Megha and I will get Megha to send it to you. It's right at the tip of my tongue. I just don't remember it, but it is like a small community that actually sets up these small sessions of public speaking and all of these.
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters is one.
Toastmasters.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I know of Toastmasters, and we where she's staying, she
Yeah.
has one group as well for that matter.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She has that.
Yeah. So Toastmasters is
Yeah,
very good. Thank you so much, Ela. I was at the tip of my
yeah,
tongue and I just wasn't able to recollect. But
yeah.
Toastmasters is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to do like mock, talks or anything like that, if she's living with a few roommates or she's living with family, if they're free, just get them together. Make her like she should find a topic to talk. If you speak to like a crowd that you know, like for example, your family or your roommates, they actually give you like proper feedback in terms of what you should improve on, whether your body language is feeling this thing or something like that, right? So these are small skills that can be picked up. It can for sure be picked up whether you're an introvert or you're an extrovert. But it takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, in addition to that, your suggestions are very much welcome. But I will suggest, like, in case still she faces any issues and she feels like in any particular career, like corporate people suggest that it doesn't call for a lot of presentation skills or litigation kind of way, the way you have to present in front of the whole court. Is there any particular field where we can suggest her to take a lead?
So, one thing that I could suggest, see, I know litigation does have a lot of like facing and all of that,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
judge facing. But to be honest, even in corporate, right, you have to face because, and in corporate, it's in a much smaller room, but you're facing your opposing,
Audience.
people or there'll be a founder or there'll be an investor. You'll always be representing one side. There'll always be team calls where you'll have to present documents and take them to the drafts that you've gone through. So there will be a lot of public, I mean, not public speaking, but rather, speaking out loud in places like this. But a thing that's emerging in a lot of law firms, I know Trilegal is setting up one. Trilegal has this thing called Center of Excellence,
Okay.
right? What they do is that is more on research on the law, right? So
Okay.
they publish papers on behalf of the law firm. So you're a part of the law firm, but you're not really doing like client work or transactional work or anything of that sort. Rather, you are publishing papers on behalf of the law firm, like getting knowledge, basically building a knowledge base, doing all of these, like writing papers, publishing papers on behalf of the law firm. And that way you're increasing your knowledge also. And you are not really facing clients also. So that is one thing. Another thing that a friend of mine has again very recently joined is that some companies are building these legal tech teams
Okay.
where some people are scouting for legal technology that can help that particular law firm and all of that stuff. So that again becomes research, business based ish of sorts, but there will be client interactions there also because you will be like dealing with vendors and all of that stuff. But definitely, if a law firm has like a business development team or say a center of excellence team where the role is very research based, which is if that's something that she would absolutely prefer, then she can definitely try those as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anweshaa, for your
Yeah,
suggestions.
I will
Thanks a lot.
also add something.
Yeah, please do so.
Because I am an introvert to a great extent,
Okay.
and I had to overcome it to a great extent as well. Basically, the world is primarily run by extroverts. So they create systems which are very conducive for extroverts. Okay. If introverts were running the world, then it would have been very easy for introverts to go out and do things because the system would have been like taking into consideration what introverts like. So that is something which I personally felt that made me like move towards becoming a more of an ambivert. कि थोड़ा सा extrovert वाले भी चीजें करो, introvert भी करो. So litigation, I would say, is something which has a place for everyone, honestly. You can do research also, you can do a lot of back-end work as well for seniors and other stuff. So ऐसा नहीं है कि litigation में everything is upfront only. There's a lot of back-end work also. But introverts honestly don't have a problem showing up or anything as such. But I honestly believe they just believe that कि पूरा जो extroverted system है ना वो थोड़ा सा overwhelming लगता है. Law overwhelming nahi hai for introverts. That going into the depth of law is not something which is again not really overwhelming for introverts. They love going into depth of things. So that will not be a problem. Somebody just gets overwhelmed by the fact कि जो आप it's like suddenly somebody who's in an introvert आप suddenly उसको एक amusement park में डाल दो जहाँ पे so much chaotic things are just happening to you. But I would suggest that this particular student of yours कि there's nothing wrong with you, number one. If you are more inclined towards being introvert. And secondly, we all have the power to be plastic. Our brain is plastic. So we can adapt to certain things which are required in this extrovert world that we live in. So that is, I think, something if you can suggest your student to move towards, कि वो plasticity पे ध्यान दे कि आप अपना introvert time रख सकते हो अपने घर के अंदर bahar bhi with certain friends with whom you can have very long conversations, have those things, but learn some of the extrovert things because you have to go out in the world and live in a world which is run by extroverts primarily. So learn to adapt, that is a very human thing to do, to learn to adapt to what the situation in front of you is. So if she's just shy, or I was also like that. I used to hate it completely, but over time I realized I need to adapt to the situation if I want to succeed in something. So, and it's great. I mean, I sometimes for days I don't meet people and I'm just reading books. And there are days when I'm really going out and doing things and whatever needs to be done. So it's very much possible. थोड़ा सा adaptability है. Extroverts के लिए easy है, उनको adapt करने की जरूरत नहीं है. But for introverts, they have to learn to adapt a bit because as Anweshaa said, कि कोई profession ऐसा नहीं है जहाँ पे आपको किसी से मिलना नहीं है या small talk नहीं करनी है या प्रेजेंटेशन ना देना हो या अपने आप को प्रेजेंट ना करना हो, अपने आप को ना बेचना हो. अपने आप को भी बेचना होता है हमें हर जगह. We have to sell ourselves also. कि हम ऐसा कर रहे हैं, हम ऐसा कर रहे हैं. Again, something introverts don't like doing. So, but you'll have to learn to adapt a bit and find your circle. I would say for introvert, it is very important to find your tribe where you can have some time off from the extrovert world and where you can satisfy your introvert needs as
Well,
So
thank you so
I,
much for your inputs. I
Chandra,
think
I
that
think there's
was
one
of really
thing.
great help. Yeah. Please,
I think
Anweshaa.
one thing will be very helpful for your
Yeah.
student. You can give her this example if that makes her feel any better.
Hmm.
Because there are times where despite being an extrovert also
Hmm.
things go wrong, right? I'm an extrovert through and through, right? But there was this one, I can tell you there was this one interview with I was giving with Jyoti Sagar Associates for this is after 3 years of work experience in PwC funds, whatever. My expectation was that one corporate partner was going to come on the call. And it turns out five partners were on the call.
Okay.
And I had spent the entire night studying and I was fully prepared. And as soon as I saw those five, it was a VC, thankfully, it wasn't in person. Otherwise, I would have been very upset. But in a VC, I see these five partners all coming on the call. And it was just me. And I completely blanked out.
Okay.
I completely blanked out. I was not able to answer anything. It was the worst interview of my life, right? So even us extroverts have terrible days. It's just depends on how you go about it. But yeah, definitely agreeing with Shikhar that there has to be some of these social skills that needs to get picked up. But that doesn't determine success in all situations. But yeah, for long term, longevity in any career in today's day and age, communication skill is a very important soft skill that has to get, picked up.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. It was very insightful, and I think I'll keep those points in mind and while counseling. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anwesha and Shikhar. It was towards the end, it all became like how we can relate to our fears and anxiety about law as a career. And it is very insightful coming from an extrovert and from an ambivert. I never realized that Shikhar was an ambivert because Shikhar and I knew each other from the fellowship. And the day when I met Shikhar, he was sitting to facilitate a session. And I called my manager and I said, Ki, who's the speaker here? Like he has that aura. And today I got to know that he is like an introvert person. Even when I entered my fellowship, today I'm sitting, moderating. I work with a lot of counselors. I've taught my kids. Day one, when I entered in my classroom, I was so scared that I ran to my fellows, like colleagues, and I cried and then I went home. I didn't teach for an entire week. That was how it was for me. But then one of my manager told me, she has left the organization, that fears we don't face will limit ourselves. Like if you don't face your fears, you will always limit. So the first I think I first time in my life at the age of 24, I facilitated like 40 kids. That was for the first time. I never used to talk. I never used to give any speech. So to kids who are like joining any profession or choosing a career, I to always tell them ki just don't limit because you think you are an introvert. Like I've seen a lot of introverts doing so good in my surrounding, and then they'll go to their little shell and you won't even realize they will disappear after doing great things on the stage. I see my friends dancing on the stage. They have their own dance workshop going on, but then they are the biggest introvert that you will ever want to meet. So I feel that the only advice that I can give to this regard is that being an introvert, like it doesn't even matter which career you are going for, which subject you are choosing for, but always push people, your friends, your students, to just face your fears and see that do not just limit yourself. Your fears will just limit yourself. I think we don't have any more questions. And thank you, like everyone is now saying thank you. So I think it's a long session. Yeah, we extended by 30 minutes. Thank you, Shikhar and Anwesha, like giving your time for this panel. I'm really, really, really grateful because it was not very planned. This session was not so much planned. I wanted to keep it a little on the spot and on their journey and true, very true, what are their experience in this field. And thank you for joining the sessions, and thank you all the participants. You were here for a very, very long time. And see you for the next session whenever the IDC Connect next happens. Thank you so much, guys. Participants, you can leave the uh, meeting. if you don't have any questions. If you do have any questions, and if we have an introvert in the house, they can stay here. They can ask. No judgments either. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Megha, for hosting us. Yeah, I know you have so much on your plate. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Megha. It was lovely being here and speaking with everybody and reminiscing on our journeys. And yeah, thank you, Shikhar Bhaiya, for reaching out to me for this and all of that stuff. This was a great, great session.
Yeah, it was nice to see you after a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Achal, do you have a question? Yeah, you have raised your hand.
Yeah, I do have a question. Do we have any masters in medical law?
I'm actually not aware of
Okay.
master medical law, unfortunately.
Okay.
I
We
also
have
don't.
like MTB, PCP, and TT, certain laws, medical laws. So, do we really have any master's degree in law in medical laws?
I
Haven't.
also. Yeah, I have not come across.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like doctors becoming lawyers.
Yeah, it's going on in India nowadays.
Oh,
So
oh,
many doctors are shifting towards law. So yeah.
There's a PG diploma that I've heard. There's a
Okay.
PG diploma in medical law and ethics that I've heard. It's a one.
In medical law and ethics, we have a program in Harvard, even in Stanford.
And like
In India, I'm not aware.
and in Amity, Noida, there's
Okay.
LLM in medical and health law
Okay.
that my friend is doing in from
Okay.
Noida. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Got it. आप मेरे को मेगा उसका डिटेल भेजना है if you have that
Yeah,
detail
yeah.
of that program. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for the
Actually, it is
insightful session.
more of like medical law and ethical practices.
Yeah. The ethical committee program comes in medical law only. Yeah. So
More related.
yeah. Thank you so much. Okay.
We still have 16 participants. Either they want to see our faces or they are introvert, they're waiting for their turn. Guys, you can actually log out if you don't have any questions. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, 9. We still have 9 participants.
They can put the questions in the chat also in
Yeah,
case.
I've told them. 7.